Good morning, my friend. I hope you're doing well. It's early in the morning here on the 25th day of Remodel May. I hope things are going well for you. I'd love to hear from you. Lee at drleewarren.com. Let me know how Remodel May is going. Yesterday, Tata and I got home from work a little bit early, and it was a beautiful day, and Lisa was getting her hair done, and the dogs were outside, and Tata and I sat down and recorded Tuesdays with Tata for next week. So we have new Tuesdays with Tata content coming at you next week. It's going to be great. Good conversation about eternity, actually. A really thought-provoking conversation that Tata had cooked up for next week. Very excited to bring that to you. Today we're going to go back and do a little quiet time that we did a while back called Godlight. And it's from a reference from C.S. Lewis' book called Letters to Malcolm, that just about how to get your eyes remodeled, how to get the eyes cleaned up so that you can see what God is doing around you, even when things seem hard. I got a call a couple days ago from Kaylin, our youngest daughter, who's getting married soon, and her and Noah are starting their lives out, and she was driving from work on her way back home, and it's just a little nervous. Like a lot of people who are young right now, looking at the economy and looking at the future, it's just a little scary, right? Since 2020, things have been kind of topsy-turvy in the world. That's a very dramatic understatement, by the way. But just, she's just like, hey, Dad, what's going on with the economy? What's going on with inflation? What's it look like for young people starting out, buying homes and all that kind of stuff that used to seem so programmed almost in the United States, and now it's not. It's kind of scary, and I just kind of reminded Kaylin of what Paul said in Acts 17, that God knew before the creation of the world the exact times and places where you were going to be and what you were going to do and where your life was going to be for the purpose of you reaching out and finding Him. And so the point of everything that you're going through, friend, the point of all of it is to lean on Him, trust in Him, let Him show you the path that you need to take, and you can find peace and joy and heart and hope again. And no matter what the circumstance, no matter how scary things are, no matter what the politics are, no matter who the president is, no matter what's going on. Pray for Uvalde, Texas, by the way. There's another dramatic, just tragic, heartbreaking loss of life there from the shooting yesterday, and we are just devastated for those families. 2 days away from their summer break, those little kids lost their lives, and just be praying that it won't be politicized. It'll just be prayed over, and that that this madness will end. We need Jesus. We need you to come back, Lord. But just be praying for those families in Uvalde. It's a scary time in the world, and so I want you to be able to remodel your eyes a little bit and learn the secret of how to find hope and peace in any circumstance. It'll help you get your head on a little bit straighter. It won't magically make everything go away and be perfect and sunshine and roses, but what it does is gives you the ability to make better decisions when you're going through something hard. If you can get your mindset focused a little bit on gratitude, on finding something hopeful to sort of latch onto in the moment, it'll help you navigate the hard parts of life. I promise you it will. That's self-brain surgery in a nutshell, okay? I just want you to remember that. And this episode about Godlight is going to help us do that. Have a good interview coming up on Friday with Dustin Bingy, who's written a great book about the church, and we'll be able to talk about how to remodel what you think about the church as we finish out the month. And I'm just so grateful for all that's going on, and for all of you that have written in and told me what you're remodeling, and all the great support that you're giving to the podcast and to our work. And if you're not getting the newsletter, drleewarren.substack.com is the newsletter. There's a free option. Just sign up for free. You don't have to buy anything. You're going to get my weekly prescriptions for how you can change your mind and change your life. But if you want more, there's extra podcasts. There's going to be videos. There's an archive of hundreds of podcast episodes. There's old content and much more new content coming every week for the paid subscribers besides the weekly newsletter. So early access to my books, worksheets and downloads and all kinds of stuff are coming through the community that we're building inside of Substack. So check it out, drleewarren.substack.com. If you're currently getting the newsletter, you need to switch to Substack. I'm not going to do that manually, but if you want the Substack content, go to drleewarren.substack.com and sign up, because in 2 weeks, the old newsletter is going away. So if you're not changed over to Substack, you're going to miss newsletters. So drleewarren.substack.com. Also, don't forget the prayer wall, wleewarrenmd.com/prayer. That's the place to go to connect with this community of people praying with and for each other all over the world. It's a powerful tool you can use to help you in your life, friend. People will pray for you. If you sign up, you don't have to sign up, sorry. If you go to the prayer wall and post your prayer request, people will pray for you. And every time they do, you'll get an email that says, hey, somebody prayed for you. wleewarrenmd.com/prayer. Check it out. It's a useful tool. I promise you it'll help. Hey, when life is hard, there's always an opportunity to see a little wink of God's presence in the moment. He will be there and he will help you. You just have to learn how to see the Godlight. C.S. Lewis is going to help us do that today. Randy Alcorn has written a lot about this, and I'm going to bring you back his book, Happiness, in another format sometime to talk about more the difference between happiness and joy and how to find it no matter what you're going through. But Randy Alcorn pointed out Letters to Malcolm from C.S. Lewis to me. I'm grateful for that, and I'm going to share it with you this morning. We're going to let C.S. Lewis help us remodel our mindset starting today. I'm always amazed at how much C.S. Lewis covered ground that we all have to cover. He was just a great writer. But his last book was called Letters to Malcolm, and Randy Alcorn quotes him here. Here's what Alcorn said. Letters to Malcolm was C.S. Lewis's final book, written 6 months before he died and published after his death. In it, Lewis wrote this, quote, "We may ignore, but we can nowhere evade the presence of God. The world is crowded with him. He walks everywhere incognito." Lewis graphically described God's self-revelation through his creation. And here's what he said, quote, "Any patch of sunlight in a wood will show you something about the sun which you could never get from reading books on astronomy. These pure and spontaneous pleasures are patches of Godlight in the woods of our experiences." Listen to that again. Any patch of sunlight in a wood will show you something about the sun which you could never get from reading books on astronomy. These pure and spontaneous pleasures are patches of Godlight in the woods of our experiences. Friend, this is what I want to talk to you about from our quiet time this morning. I want to recognize that we see things every day that are little bits of grace, of Godlight, Lewis would call them, that Jesus is showing us in his creation, things that can make us grateful. We can either go through our lives always expecting and needing somebody else to do something, or some other thing to happen, or some other time to get here, or some other job to come along, or some other state of health to come along for us to finally be happy. But the truth is, I've told you this before, and I'm going to tell you again, this is a Warrenism. If you're not happy where you are, you will never be happy anywhere you are. It is absolutely a trick of the devil to make you think that somebody else can make you happy, more money can make you happy, a different job can make you happy, a different house can make you happy, a different wife or husband can make you happy, something else can make you happy. It's not true. Getting rid of cancer won't make you happy. I've seen some of the bitterest and most hateful people ever after they were cured of some disease or recovered from some trauma, because they get so mad that they had to go through it that they never find their happiness again. I've seen people stricken with the worst diseases, going through the hardest things ever, and they're still the most joyful, peaceful, happy people. Why? Because you decide to be. If you can learn how to see Godlight in whatever situation you're in, you will truly be able to be happy in this world. Remember, Jesus said, the thief comes to steal and kill and destroy, but I come that you might have an abundant life and have it abundantly. That's what he said, John 10:10. Jesus came here so you could enjoy this life and have the next life. That's what he said. Yesterday, we were looking at the river. Tata and Lisa and I were looking out the window. And the North Platte River right now is frozen. It looks like the Bering Sea. It's got what I can only call icebergs. Like there's just white, giant, 2 or 3 foot thick blocks of ice flowing down the river. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. It looks like one of those documentaries of the North Pole. I keep expecting a polar bear to walk around. It's just crazy that we're here in the middle of North America and the river is full of icebergs. It's unbelievable. There's bald eagles flying everywhere because the river's basically forced through really small channels. So I'm assuming the fish must be kind of corralled through the little channel. So yesterday there were 2 bald eagles just hovering over our backyard all day long, making a living, right? They're fishing, eating. It's incredible. And that, my friend, is Godlight. You can look out and see something like that with your eyes. There was a downriver, I saw something that looked like a piece of metal, like the sun was hitting something. It was just this shining beam up off the water. At first I thought somebody was shining some sort of laser or something. So I got the spotting scope out and I looked. It was about a quarter mile downriver. And it was just this crystal formation sitting on top of one of those icebergs, and the sun was hitting it just right that it was shining light back up into the sky. And it looked phantasmical. It looked like something Disney would have created. It was the most incredible thing. And it was just right there. And that's what Lewis is getting at. Like sometimes if you'll stop long enough to take a breath and notice what God's doing around you, there's Godlight there. If you can't be happy where you are, you will never be happy anywhere you are. That's what Lewis was getting at. So I just want to tell you today, take a minute to see the Godlight. Take a breath and find some place in your life, some moment where you can tell God that you're grateful, even though the circumstances aren't exactly what you want. You know, that beautiful scene outside my window is true and it's beautiful, but it doesn't change the reality of any of the things I'm going through in my life right now. We have a lot of spinning plates and a lot of challenges in our family right now and in our world. And none of those things go away just because I'm able to see the Godlight out the window. But you know what happens? When I take a minute to be grateful and to say, God, thank you for letting me see that. Thank you for letting me enjoy your creation. Then all of a sudden I'm grateful for the time and the place and the situation where I am. And don't forget that Paul said in Acts, in the Sermon on Mars Hill, God knew the exact time and places where you would live and move and have your being. And he did that so that, he says, you might seek him and perhaps find him, though he is not far from any one of us. Remember that. God said that because he wants you. That's Acts 17, 27 and 28, by the way. He's not far from any one of us. He does that. He makes himself available if you'll take a minute to see the Godlight. You can learn to be happy when and where and what you are. And if you can do that, then you'll be able to be happy and be able to enjoy your life no matter what you're going through, because you have to separate circumstance from peace of mind. That is the superpower. I just wrote a whole book about it. Hope is the first dose. I'm going to play you a song Paul Baloche and Graham Kendrick wrote called Creation's King. It's on the Greater Song album that's in my top 3 all-time worship albums. One of these days I am going to get around to recording those episodes about my top 5 all-time worship albums. I've already shared number 5 with you from Brenton Brown, but Paul Baloche's A Greater Song just had his 15th anniversary re-release with some of the songs re-recorded and reimagined, and it's amazing. But Creation's King was one of my favorite songs off that album, and Paul Baloche and Graham Kendrick wrote it, and it's just a great way to think about the beauty of creation, to be grateful for the things that we get to see, and enjoy that Godlight that Lewis talked about. But just worship over this song, spend a minute in Acts 17, and read what Paul's talking about how God is always not very far from any one of us. And just take a minute to see the Godlight and start today.
Creation is a song waiting to be sung, all of nature like a prayer, waiting for a tongue. But who will give it voice and make its anthem ring, or rise to lead a choir of all created things? Lord, hear your people sing. Blessing, honor, glory, power to creation's King. Songs of earth and songs of heaven join as one to bring. Sing it, blessing, honor, glory, to creation's King. All the nations are a song waiting to be sung, every instrument and voice created for the one, the maker of all things, the majesty above, who brought us back from death with such a costly love. What praise could be enough? Sing it, blessing, honor, glory, power to creation's King. Songs of earth and songs of heaven join as one to bring. Sing it, blessing, honor, glory, power to creation's King. To creation's King. Gathered round your throne, every race and nation singing, they all bow down to you alone.